Welcome back to our YouTube channel once again, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in to our beautiful show. You make it great, and we don't take that support for granted. Now, last week, NTV did an expose where they showed us, very shockingly, certain schools in Baringo North constituencies that have got no infrastructure, they have got no pupils, they have got no teachers. That the only thing that proves that they exist are billboards and signboards, whereas there are no buildings at all. And some of those schools, if I can look at the names, were Kaptioni Girls High School, Kampia Nyasi Secondary School, and Kasaka Mixed Day and Secondary School. Now, when this was exposed, the government was actually embarrassed because, one, how could this happen in their very own eyes? And NTV revealed that these schools have got established board of directors and established bank accounts that are used to siphon taxpayers' money in terms of capitation fee. If you can remember, Kenyans have been crying foul even last term. The capitation fee did not reach schools on time. In fact, many schools closed their first term without getting the money that was meant for capitation fee in first term. So as they open for second term, we don't know whether they will be given the full amount for first term, then another amount for second term. Kenyans took to social media and they linked these schools to election malpractice, because you know that in Chebukati's practice, and there were stations that were non-existent. So Ezekiel Machogu, being in charge of that docket, rushed to do an investigation. And Baringo North MP Mr. Joseph Makilap was also put to task to explain whether he knew anything about the schools, because the schools exist on air in his constituency, but he said that he has no knowledge and is not part and parcel of this. Ezekiel Machogu decided to do an investigation, and it's reported that Ghost Schools probe begins as Baringo North MP Joseph Makilap denies playing a role. Of course, he says he does not know anything to do with them. Let's just read a little bit because I want us to discuss this. In his letter, Education Cabinet Secretary Ezekiel Machogu has written to Auditor General Nancy Gadungu, calling on her to investigate the matter. He told Nation that a national audit of schools will be done later, although he denied knowledge of the fake schools. Now, I want you to listen to part of Machogu's letter, because you will agree with me that something has gone wrong here. In his letter, Machogu says, in the past week, there have been reports of alleged fake schools in Baringo County. The reports include allegations that the fake schools are an avenue to siphon public funds in the form of capitation to learners. Read part of the letter that is dated 13th. Today is 15th, so that letter was written 2 days ago. Now, I want you to get this, because this is going to form the main agenda, something that I want us to talk about. Now, Ezekiel Machogu in that second paragraph says, whereas our initial investigation has established that the said schools are not registered and have not received any capitation or other funding from the ministry, we request that in the public interest and for purposes of accountability, you also undertake a special audit to comprehensively ascertain the veracity of these serious allegations, Mr. Machogu said. And then lastly, the CS has also written to the Principal Secretary for Basic Education, Dr. Belio Kipsang, instructing him to establish the registration statuses of the schools and whether they have boards of management. In his letter to Belio Kipsang, he says, institute investigations and report on the persons responsible for the erection of signage and or gates for the purported schools, and to the extent that can be established the purpose of the said signage and gates. Ladies and gentlemen, I want us to look at this and scrutinize part of this letter as has been given by NTV. Now, before we do this, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to request you to subscribe to our channel, especially if you're watching for the first time or you've been our regular viewers and you've not yet subscribed. Please take a second or two and subscribe to our channel, then click the notification bell. That will allow YouTube to notify you whenever we release a video. If you love our show, kindly subscribe. I always request you to share our videos and give this video likes. The second paragraph is what baffles me, because this is what Ezekiel Machogu says. Whereas our initial investigation has established that the said schools are not registered and have not received any capitation or other fundings from the ministry. Look, when a letter or when a statement is said that our investigation has established, the word established there means that without any iota of doubt, they have followed every channel, they have investigated, they have talked to everyone they thought would have the knowledge of what is happening, and they have come up with a report. They have concluded without a shadow of doubt that the schools are neither registered nor have they benefited from any funding or capitation fee from the ministry. And this is my main worry. I thought that the best explanation for this would be that these schools are being used to siphon money from the government, and so they will do an investigation into who owns the schools, because the schools are not there. So, ladies and gentlemen, when you tell us that someone sat down and thought and came up with an idea that we want to erect signposts with names of schools, what was the intention? And I want you to picture in your area where you reside that someone erects a post of a school that does not exist. What was the intention? That is what I want us to try and figure out. Because Ezekiel Machogu, the Honorable, is telling us that they have established beyond reasonable doubt that these schools are not registered and they have not been used to siphon any money. What exactly then is the motive? And in my very considered opinion, ladies and gentlemen, number one, then you cannot tell us that someone just went and erected the post if they have not been used to siphon money and they have not been, they are not registered, neither do they have a board of management. Then the number one conclusion is that these schools were used to perpetuate election malpractice in 2022. You cannot convince me otherwise. No one can just come and erect a school post that does not exist near some bushes. Give it a name. So if what Machogu is saying is true, then they were used. These are part of the schools that were used to rob or to steal elections in 2022. Because we know that there were certain polling stations that they even came up during the presidential debate and there was no proper explanation for them. Otherwise, it cannot just be like that. If they are not being used to siphon money, then someone must tell us. Number two, this is a well choreographed plan for 2027. Because if they are not being used to take money from the government, competition fee, and maybe they were not used in 2022, then it means that someone is planning to use them in 2027. And I suspect that now that it has been known that there are schools that have got signposts, what will happen is very simple. You know, Ruto now is in government. They control the Ministry of Education, they control the investigative mechanisms, they control everything, the police and everything. So they can decide to register names even without signposts. No one will investigate because for it to come to your attention, even this has been in existence. But if NTV had not come up with the explanation, no one would have bothered because I remember we have always been passing that place and we see signposts, but it has never crossed our mind that you can Campinyasi Secondary School, where is it? It's not very easy for you to start figuring out that we have a signpost here, but where is the school? So there is a choreographed plan for 2027. And in fact, let me tell you, if William Ruto managed to get to power when he was the deputy president, when he had no control of certain departments in the country. Now he's made changes in the military, he's made changes within the police, he's made changes in the education sector. There is a possibility that he will do it in 2027 even without noticing. No one will notice. It will be crafted. Belio Kipsang is there, and many people have been pointing, accusing fingers at him that maybe he knew. In fact, people are even suspecting that there could be a correlation between the death of the former CS of education and the schools. Kenyans are really speculating, and rightly so, because in Kenya, you never know until it is revealed. When the fake fertilizer scandal started, we were told by the very, very CS, mythical in theory, that these were Azimio propaganda. There was no fake fertilizer. Later, when John Allen Namu and the group came up with the investigative journal, the report, we realized, and it was very open, that we had fake fertilizer. Farmers cried foul. The CS disagreed with the principal secretary Rono. Now it has started again, and with the very usual narrative, we are told hakuna kitu kama hiyo. Before you know it, they will be giving us another explanation and looking for sacrificial lambs. So we must be very, very careful. Number 3, I have a feeling that Machogu is hiding something. When you tell us that your initial investigations reveal that there are no such schools, they're not registered, they don't have established board of directors, they have not been used to siphon money. How do you come up with this investigation? Because this was just done last week, and Machogu is saying that an overhaul or a full audit of all the schools will be done later. But on this, they're telling us that they have done, and it means they have hurried, because it was just last week, and now they're coming up with that. But how did they conclude? Walihoji akina nani who were questioned? I have a feeling that Machogu is hiding something. And let me ask you, many a times you've realized that we crucify cabinet secretaries, but they are answering to a higher power. For example, if Nahumincha tells you that we don't have money for interns, the doctor interns, then we crucify her. Yet the instructions have come from Felix Kosgei and William Ruto that when you negotiate with the KMPDU, tell them that we cannot pay more than 70%. Do you think the minister can tell them that, okay, I can add you, 10,000? No. So Ezekiel Machogu cannot go against the instruction. Let's just be very honest. If I were in his shoes, let's say we are part and parcel of an election malpractice, Can I now come and say that yes, we rigged or these schools were used, to for election malpractice? So this you cannot. They are part of this system. Number three, we are dealing with a very corrupt government. This has been established by the Control of Budgets Office and the Auditor General's Office. The chairman of the Council of Economic Advisors, David D, has said that there is a lot of wastage. So Machogu cannot stomach another accusation that his ministry is paying money to schools that don't exist. And I know he cannot, because if he does that, then it means he is very incompetent. It's been mentioned very adversely that he's one of the cabinet secretaries that are non-performing because of the way he's manning that docket. The exam for both KCPE and KCSE students were messed up. The capitation fee messed up. The way he announced the postponement of the opening of schools at night messed up. So if he comes up and tells us that yes, our ministry has paid schools that are non-existent, then he knows very well that that is shooting himself on the foot. So he cannot do that. And lastly, ladies and gentlemen, this is a clarion call to the opposition and Kenyans at large that they need to look at how they will avert any kind of election malpractice, because this time round it is going to be very difficult. The last time, at least, they were saying they had an imaginary deep state somewhere, but this time around the deep state is now with Ruto. If the mess is going to come from the education sector, Ruto controls it. It is a UDA government, a UDA cabinet secretary. The police that let's talk of the DPP's office, CID, and all that. They are under William Ruto. It is going to be very difficult, and Azimio or any other outfit that wants to establish itself as an opposition and wants to give Ruto a run for his money must now start looking into ways of averting election malpractice. Because I believe that Chebukati gave insight into how this can be done. Remember, Marjan Hussein Marjan is still there as the CEO. So as we make a lot of noise about Chebukati, he should die, he's in ICU, Marjan is there. If you remember what Chiloba did in 2017, they wield a lot of powers, and the new chairman that is coming in will be indoctrinated into the system by Marjan. So things are getting thicker. It is going to be very difficult. So the opposition and Kenyans at large must rise up and have an established plan, a well plan on how to avert an upcoming, what may seem to be a very orchestrated plan for rigging. I don't know what you think, ladies and gentlemen, but my worry is Education Secretary, Cabinet Secretary is telling us that yes, these schools don't exist, they are not registered, but we have gates. So what are they for? What is the motive? Please share with me on the comment section what you think, because I'm very suspicious that something is cooking, and when it is served, it will not mean well for us. That's my take.